Hi there, and good afternoon. I'm John.
I'm Zen. And I'm Julie.
We're with C Nation, and you are tuned in to the 50 Days of Cannabis podcast, where we examine the cannabis laws in each of the 50 states.
Oh, well, hold on, John. You missed one.
I did. The District of Columbia is also included in this. We just thought 50 days sounded a little better than 51. Today we're looking at the cannabis laws in Georgia. The peach state is anything but peachy. Who writes this stuff? Oh yeah, it's me. The peach state is anything but peachy when it comes to its cannabis laws. All but one charge is a felony, complete with mandatory sentences and fines as high as $1 million.
That's ridiculous.
Ain't that crazy? Zen, tell us about possession in the peach state.
Possession of 1 ounce or less of cannabis is a misdemeanor, punishable up to a year in jail and a maximum fine of $1,000. Possession of any amounts of cannabis greater than 1 ounce is a felony. Got 1 to 40 years in prison.
What?
1 to how many?
40.
Oh my gosh.
Mandatory ranging 1 to 15 years.
What?
And fines between $5,000 and $1 million.
Jeez.
Yeah, they ain't kidding.
$1 million. What's their medical program look like?
Georgia has passed a medical CBD law allowing for the use of cannabis extracts that are high in CBD and low in THC to treat severe forms of 8 specific illnesses, including cancer, Parkinson's disease, and epilepsy.
Nice. So CBD only, right? So as we were looking this up, I did find something really interesting to note. Now, they revised their medical cannabis laws just a couple of months ago, in fact. It was originally just for the high-risk epilepsy, Dravet syndrome, these types of things. And they expanded it, as you mentioned, to include a few other things that
Parkinson's,
cancer, we see in every state. And they should just keep expanding that. Or they should have one of those laws that says if your doctor
decides... If your doctor says it's for you,
good.
then yeah.
But I noticed that they allow their CBD oil to contain as much as 5% THC. Now, what's 5% THC? I mean, I think that's by potency and not just volume. They're not real clear on that. But, okay, so in the smokable form or edible form, etc., 5% THC is going to be pretty mild. You look at your most common strains of, high-end cannabis today that you could buy in any dispensary, medicinal or adult use. Anywhere from 25 to 30% is the high end. The most common range and strains seem to be, let's say, from about 17 to 22 or so. I have a friend 2 towns over that's got some experience with this stuff, and he says obviously the higher, the more immediate the feeling is. The lower it is, the more manageable it is, but maybe you need to use more product. So 5% is going to be on the low end, but man, it's not on the no end.
True.
So... it's a really good thing. I think someone that really understands their cannabis laws and cannabis in general wrote that, because what cannabis medical experts have always been telling people is that CBD and THC work synergistically as the medicine, and they do rely on each other for the most effective use. And we see some states that have these CBD onlys and it's 0. It's like no THC, or that, that industrial hemp rate that like 1/3% that's almost negligible. But we do know that THC and CBD work hand in hand as medicine, and I'm really encouraged. Georgia's been at this a few years, and I think in their next legislative session, we're going to see this expand more and more. We may start seeing in-state the ability or licensing out growing processing, so people don't have to cross state lines. There's not a lot of places in the South for people from Georgia to go.
Yep.
To get their CBD oil.
Yeah, so right now they can't find it.
Yeah, right. And I mean, people are doing what they're doing. I mean, let's not pretend there isn't smuggling and, UPS and these things are going on. They clearly are. So anyway, I'm sorry I didn't mean to take us down such a long path on this, but I did. But I'm going to toss it to Jules to tell us all about them growers and sellers.
All right, let's talk about them. You just don't want to be them. The sale or distribution of any amount of cannabis in Georgia is a felony. That will give you 1 to 40 years in prison with mandatory sentencing, clocking you in between 1 to 15 years.
Yikes.
Financial penalties ranging between $5,000 to $1 million, depending on how much is being sold.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted. That million seems steep, but that's how many pounds, right?
Yep. So if you have, like, I think 10,000
I think
pounds,
10,000 was the number.
Yep, 10,000 is the 1 million, which if you have 10,000 pounds, you have a million.
It might be pocket change. Go sell your plane to cover your... Yeah, I agree. 10,000's a lot of pounds.
Yeah, so also keep in mind using modern communication technology in buying or selling is a felony, and that will give you 1 to 4 years with mandatory sentencing of 1 year. Fines ranging $30,000.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So, there are federal communications laws that prohibit this stuff. This is the first state that we've seen that actually specifies, no use of communication facilities. And they mean it. And we're talking about, maybe there aren't many pagers anymore, but cell
text
phones.
messaging.
Yeah, text messaging.
Messenger. Computers.
Cell phone, or Facebook Messenger is an example. All these types of things. Email. They don't really care. Keep it to smoke signals, like we did, just smoke signals, and they can't get you on that, but they might try and wrap it in if you're successful at it. But I do find it interesting that Georgia has this specifically mentioned because, like I said, this is the first state that we've run across this, and it hasn't been a case of we just haven't mentioned this in any of the other states. This really is the first time we've seen that. So, yeah, be aware, they mean that, and if you get cracked on a simple charge, a possession or something, they're probably going to take your phone. And if
you're going to have a couple of years mandatory, too.
Yeah, for sure. So expect to cough up your phone, and all of a sudden law enforcement's rifling through your Facebook and your Twitter and your emails and your everything. Yeah. So be aware of that in Georgia. Yeah.
So let's talk about the growers. Any amount of cultivation is a felony. That will give you 1 to 40 years. With mandatory sentencing 1 to 15 years and fines to $40,000.
Golly.
So any amount.
Yeah, this 40 years is, I don't even know what to say. It's preposterous for a plant. Now, I realize they're not giving you the 40 years for the plant. It's what you're doing with the plant, but still. It's a lot of money. Ask me about school zones in Georgia.
Yeah, so how are school zones? I hope they're serious.
They are. So everything else, as we've just learned about Georgia, is serious when it comes to cannabis offenses. All felonies, steep fines, steep mandatories. Their school zones are no different, and they do include possession as well. So 1,000 feet, and this is more drug-free zone than a school zone. All your schools, parks, housing projects, etc. These are drug-free zones in Georgia. This is an additional charge. It's not an enhancement. It's an additional charge, and it's very serious. It is a felony. It comes with a mandatory 5-year sentence, up to 40 years, and up to $40,000 in fines. So
stay off.
Yeah, I mean, just a 5-year mandatory, that's just... You guys know better. Stay the heck out of school zones.
Be an adult.
Keep your cannabis away from minors. Don't involve them buying or selling. It is very serious in Georgia. For a more comprehensive look at the cannabis laws in Georgia, please visit us at cnation.com and click on the state-by-state link.
Remember, you have rights if you're arrested for any cannabis-related reasons. You have the constitutional right to remain silent until your attorney is present. If you don't have an attorney, ask for one.
This is Zen.
And Julie.
I didn't get to say holla. All right.
Not yet.
And John.
With C Nation bringing you a snapshot of the cannabis laws in Georgia.
I'm
Be
pouting.
safe.
Stay informed.
Yeah, what they said. The 50 Days of Cannabis podcast is a copyrighted production of the South American Gold Corporation.
We appreciate your likes and shares on social media.
Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at C Nation Channel.